Can you do with your head down? Yeah. Well, that's not bad. Let's do that. Try that, Jay.
Wendy, listen to me. Let me out of here and I'll forget the whole damn thing. It'll be like it never happened.
You couldn't find some way of sort of not looking at her and looking down as you said the line.
Don't leave me in here.
I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna try to get Danny down to Sidewinder and the snowcat today. I'll bring back a doctor.
Wendy?
I'm gonna go now.
Wendy?
Yes.
You've got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
Hey there, movie gang. What if I told you there was a filmmaker who refused to compromise, who dared to ask the big questions about humanity, technology, and madness? One whose work was so groundbreaking, so daring, that it still influences the way we see movies today? In some circles, this director is considered to be the best ever. Want to guess? That's right. We're talking about Stanley Kubrick, the genius, the perfectionist, the enigma. Tonight on Lights, Camera Classics, we dive into the fascinating life and career of Kubrick and spotlight some of his most iconic films like 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, Dr. Strangelove, and The Shining. So stick around. Stanley Kubrick was born in 1928 in the Bronx, New York, a creative kid with a knack for photography. He was so good, he started working for Look magazine at just 17. But photography wasn't enough. He wanted to tell bigger stories. So in the early 50s, Kubrick turned to filmmaking. And what's incredible to me, at least, is in a 45-year career, he made only 12 films. That's a perfectionist for real. His first big break came with The Killing in 1956, a gritty crime thriller that caught Hollywood's attention. It probably caught the attention of future filmmakers too. Christopher Nolan, maybe. Dark Knight? Check out this scene.
All right, that's enough. Now put the bag here in the middle of the floor. Get back over there. Now, I'm going to open this door. I want you to go through it and go into the locker room and close the door after you. I'm going to start firing through that door 15 seconds after you close the door. Let's go. All right, close it.
It was Paths of Glory in 1957, an anti-war masterpiece starring Kirk Douglas that solidified Kubrick's reputation as a director with something to say. Kubrick wasn't just a director. He was a craftsman. Some might have even called him a tyrant. He meticulously controlled every aspect of his films, from the script to the music to the lighting. His goal? Perfection. And dude, he achieved it.
The essential thing about Kubrick is his absolute obsession with every single detail, no matter how small and how detailed it is. And it was his inability to ever say he was finished until he got precisely and exactly what he wanted. Hence the famous, number of takes that he does, which is not a myth, I found out. It's very common to be on take 75 or take 80. I don't think I've ever gone past the 20s in my life, and if I go to 20, it's a tragedy.
Dave, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
No, not at all.
I've wondered whether you might be having some second thoughts about the mission.
How do you mean?
Rumors about something being dug up on the moon. I never gave these stories much credence, but particularly in view of some of the other things that have happened, I find them difficult to put out of my mind.
Let's start with one of Kubrick's crowning achievements, 2001: A Space Odyssey from 1968. This sci-fi epic wasn't just a movie, it was an experience. Kubrick teamed up with author Arthur C. Clarke to create a story that explored the evolution of humanity, artificial intelligence, and our place in the cosmos. And then there's HAL 9000, the eerily calm homicidal computer. HAL became one of the most iconic villains in cinema, an AI villain in fact. But beyond the characters, it was Kubrick's visuals that blew minds. The special effects were so ahead of their time that people thought Kubrick faked the moon landing. Seriously? Spoiler, he didn't. Next we have A Clockwork Orange from 1971. Brace yourself. This one's wild.
Yes? Who is it?
Excuse me, missus, can you please help? There's been a terrible accident. My friend's in the middle of the road, bleeding to death. Can I please use your telephone for an ambulance?
I'm sorry, but we don't have a telephone. You'll have to go somewhere else.
But, missus, it's a matter of life and death.
Who is it, dear?
There's a young man here. He says there's been an accident. He wants to use the telephone.
Well, I suppose you'd better let him in.
Well, wait a minute, will you? I'm sorry, but we don't usually let strangers in the middle.
Right, Pete, check the rest of the house. Dead. Glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. Sun's in my heart, and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. I'm on with the rain, I've a smile on my face.
Based on Anthony Burgess's novel, this dystopian drama dives into free will, morality, and the nature of violence. Malcolm McDowell's portrayal of Alex DeLarge is terrifyingly charismatic, making you question your own feelings towards a truly horrible character. Kubrick's use of music was genius, turning Beethoven into a tool for chaos and turning scenes of violence into something disturbingly operatic. The film sparked massive controversy, even leading Kubrick to withdraw it from UK theaters for decades. But love it or hate it, A Clockwork Orange cemented Kubrick's reputation as a provocateur.
Well, I met Stanley scouting locations at Elstree Studios for Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1980. Actually, it was in '79. And he was constructing these massive sets for The Shining, the Overlook Hotel. And I was going to move on to those stages when he vacated the stages after photography was over. And I heard he was on the lot the day I was on the lot, and there was nobody else there except I think the two of us. It was like almost a ghost lot. I said, oh, is there any way I can meet Stanley? And I got permission from the guy that managed the lot, who went in, told Stanley I was there, and he received me. And he was wearing a kind of long, schleppy sweater and kind of baggy pants, and he had the full beard. He looked like a friar, you know, more than a filmmaker. We spent an hour together, and he said, "Come over to the house and we'll have dinner." I was a student, and he was a great professor. But to Stanley, it was that I was a peer. He accepted me more as a peer than I was willing to accept him. I accepted him as a, you know, as the master builder, and he didn't have much patience with being idolized. You know, if I ever began to wax on about Dr. Strangelove, or I went into, you know, a soliloquy about the effects 2001: A Space Odyssey had on my career, he would cut me off immediately and change the subject and move on to something about me or about the it we were talking about together.
Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, from 1964, is Kubrick's darkly comedic masterpiece about nuclear war. With Peter Sellers playing not one, not two, but 3 roles, this film is as absurd as it is terrifyingly real.
Mr. President, we are rapidly approaching a moment of truth, both for ourselves as human beings and for the life of our nation. Now, truth is not always a pleasant thing, but it is necessary now to make a choice, to choose between 2 admittedly regrettable, but nevertheless distinguishable post-war environments. One where you got 20 million people killed, and the other where you got 150 million people killed.
You're talking about mass murder, General, not war.
Mr. President, I'm not saying we wouldn't get our hair mussed, but I do say no more than 10 to 20 million killed, tops, depending on the breaks.
I will not go down in history as the greatest mass murderer since Adolf Hitler.
Perhaps it might be better, Mr. President, if you were more concerned with the American people than with your image in the history books.
General Turgison, I think I've heard quite sufficient from you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, they have the ambassador waiting upstairs.
Oh, good. Any difficulty?
They say he's having a fit about that squad of MPs.
Yeah, well, that can't be helped. Have him brought down here straight away.
Yes, sir.
Is that the Russian ambassador you're talking about?
Yes, it is, General.
Am I to understand the Russian ambassador is to be admitted entrance to the war room?
That is correct. He is here on my orders.
I don't know exactly how to put this, sir, but are you aware of what a serious breach of security that would be? I mean, you'll see everything. You'll see the big board.
That is precisely the idea, General. That is precisely the idea.
Kubrick turned the Cold War into a biting satire showing how close we are to destroying ourselves, all while making us laugh. Talk about a balancing act. And then there's The Shining from 1980, Kubrick's foray into horror. Based on Stephen King's novel, Kubrick turned the Overlook Hotel into a living, breathing nightmare. From the unsettling symmetry of the hallways to the haunting imagery of the twins, every frame is a masterclass in tension.
Told you anything in Denver about the tragedy we had up here during the winter of 1970?
I don't believe they did.
Well, my predecessor in this job hired a man named Charles Grady as the winter caretaker. And he came up here with his wife and 2 little girls, I think about 8 and 10. And he had a good employment record, good references. And from what I've been told, I mean, he seemed like a completely normal individual. But at some point during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of a complete mental breakdown. He ran amok and killed his family with an axe.
And Jack Nicholson's character? absolutely legendary.
Grady?
Yes, sir.
Delbert Grady.
That's right, sir.
Mr. Grady, haven't I seen you somewhere before?
Why, no, sir. I don't believe so. Aha. It's coming off now, sir.
Mr. Grady, weren't you once the caretaker here?
Why, no, sir. I don't believe so.
You, married man, are you, Mr. Grady?
Yes, sir. I have a wife and 2 daughters, sir.
And, where are they now?
Oh, they're somewhere around. I'm not quite sure at the moment, sir.
Mr. Grady, you were the caretaker here. I recognize you. I saw your picture in the newspapers. You, chopped your wife and daughter up into little bits. And, then you blew your brains out.
But here's the twist. Stephen King wasn't a huge fan of Kubrick's adaptation, but loved Jack Nicholson's performance. He felt the film missed the emotional core of the book. But let's be clear, Stephen King hated most of the movie adaptations of his books. Kubrick, on the other hand, created a film that stands on its own, a chilling exploration of madness and isolation.
I can't get out. Run! Run and hurry! Run! Quick!
Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. Here's Johnny.
Stanley Kubrick wasn't just a director, he was an innovator. He pushed the boundaries of storytelling, visuals, and sound, leaving an indelible mark on cinema. Later, he went on to direct some other notable movies like Full Metal Jacket and Eyes Wide Shut. What's funny about Eyes Wide Shut? No diddy. So whether you're into sci-fi, horror, satire, or just plain jaw-dropping filmmaking, Kubrick's got something for you. His films don't just entertain, they challenge you to think, to question, to wonder. And that's so Hollywood. What's your favorite Stanley Kubrick film? Drop it in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the legends of cinema. I'm the Movie Man. Until next time, keep watching, keep questioning, and remember.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.